Hello, and thank you for joining us today at the NMB Library. Today I'll be showing you how to achieve this beautiful dark fairy look. Stay tuned! So I've already put my foundation on, so we're going to get into the eye section of this video. I'm starting with my Juvia's Place I Am Magic concealer. I'm actually starting with a lighter color. Just get this to focus. So anyways, the box looks like this. I ordered this from juviasplace.com. I'm starting with a level 15. Just because I want the highlight under my brow. I'm not going to do my brows first. We'll go in and shape those up. But I am going to take the concealer and clean up under the brow as if I've already filled it in. Just to create a line here. And then we're going to just bring that down. Kind of want to get this line straight, but if not, you can always go back in when we go back to our brows and clean that up. I forgot to show you the brush. I'm using a flat brush. You can see it from the side. It's very, very flat. Helps me to get a thinner line there and get a straighter line. And with this concealer, notice I didn't go right up under the brow when I put the concealer on my lid because it's kind of watery. So you want to have space where it doesn't spread too much and go all the way into the brow. If you're not comfortable with that, you can always go in with a cream shadow concealer. So what I'm going to do is take my brush and I'm just going to blend this out a bit. And I'm tapping it to make it, it helps to dry it up, but it also helps to set it better. You get a better consistency. Instead of scrubbing it, like when you rub it, you're rubbing it off. So you just want to kind of tap it into place. You can use a beauty blender as well. And I'm only doing on this section. I'm actually going to be using a different concealer for my eyelid. Actual eyelash and eyeshadow primer. So I don't want to double it up. Otherwise my eyelids is going to start to crease. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to start here. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick that up with my brush and go up to my brow. And so we're just going to drag this to that line. Because it's easier to create with the thinner line here than it would be to create and have a watery consistency. I'm just going to take my brush and run that up. And if you ever have issues with getting your brows to be even at the bottom, you can always take this concealer from both brows and make a triangle here. Make them connect, and that way you can see where it is. You can see if one is going to be higher than the other, and you can correct that from there. So if you ever see a makeup artist joining the eyebrows here, that's probably why. Just to use it as a guide, and we'll get rid of that later on. I have already put on my foundation, but I can blend that back out. So I will be working with dark colors today. Mostly black and blue because I did create my little fairy headpiece. And I have a blue and a black flower on here, so I'll be using those colors and maybe a little bit of green to bring in the leaves. So I'm just going to take this brush and blend this out more over here. You want to get your concealer on as evenly as possible so that your eyeshadows can go on evenly. If you have any creases, or if the concealer, your foundation base, whatever you're using, if it is not even, your eyeshadows won't be even. So it may be darker in some spots, maybe lighter in some spots. So you definitely want to make sure that everything is even. Okay, so we got our highlight. So once we do once we do our brow and start to add our eyeshadows, hold on, this is a little bit too thick. You're going to see that highlight really pop out. Okay. So now, first things first, we're going to start out with I'm going to be using 2 different brushes, well, probably 3, but I'll show you the one I'm going to start out with. This one has a smaller head. It is an eyeshadow brush. This one is smaller so that I can create the transition colors. And because I am using darker colors and I don't want them to go all the way up to the brow, I'm going to use a smaller brush so I can keep the areas kind of contained. So the first palette that I'll be using, I'm going to be using the Juvia's Place Magic palette. And I'm going to be using the dark blue here, and I'm going to be blending that out with the purple and the black. I don't have black on this palette, but I'll be using these Morphe James Charles palette. So I'll be using these 2 palettes for the eyes. And you can see it has lots of colors on here, but I'll be using that black color for part of it. So the first things first, and with this look, we're going to be doing a cut crease. So we're going to start off our base color with the blue. And you're going to come right on the corner of your eye. And you're going to start with that blue. And we're going to come the inner corner. And we're going to meet these 2 together. And you can do one eye at a time, or if you feel more comfortable with doing both eyes, doing the steps together. It's completely up to you how you go about doing this, but I'm going to do one eye at a time. And I'll be teaching on this eye, and then I'll probably just run through on this eye, but at least you'll see what I've done on this eye. So to darken this a little bit, I'm actually going to go into that purple color and give this a little bit darker. And so you can't really tell it's purple, it just looks like a darker blue. So you see it made the blue look a little bit lighter here, and then the purple actually darkened it some. So then, because I want it a little bit darker, I'm going to go in and blend that color with a little bit of black. That way our base color is really, really dark. And that's why it's so important to use a smaller brush so you can keep those colors kind of in the same area. And I'm actually going one color under the next. I'm not putting them directly on top of each other, because you still want some kind of a dimension here. So I'm going to get that as dark as I can get it with the black and the purple. Okay. So now I'm not sure if you can see it, but we've done the black, the purple, and the blue. So I have 3 colors here. I'm actually going to go back into the blue. And bring this up a little bit more. Now you may need to use multiple brushes because using dark colors, it's hard to go into dark colors and come out using a lighter color. Or you can get a wet paper towel or a makeup wipe of something and wipe it into that brush and kind of clean off the darker color. Because going into the transition, you're going to want to lighten some colors up. So I have my blues up. And I want to get rid of that dark line there. I want it to really blend. So I'm going still in with my smaller brush. Getting detail. So again, I'm going to wipe this off. Or actually, right now I'm going to switch to a different brush. This one will be the same, about the same size. Actually, no. I'm going to use a bigger brush. The brush I used before. I'm going to use this brush. This is a crease shadow brush. Now this, because I don't like this, just this harsh line here, I'm going to blend this out with a nude color. I'm switching back to the James Charles palette, and I'll be using this brown color here. These don't have names, so I'm just gonna go right over that blue and blend this out. And you can use whatever color if you want to use like a purple or something. It's going to be the same. I just personally like to have that nude highlight under my brow. Or you could take the blue all the way up. It's strictly up to you. But to my liking, I'm going to do the nude. And this is going to complement the blue really, really well. So you'll have a pop of highlight under your brow. And really have that blend going on. Now I'm using this yellowish color here. See if I can get it a little bit darker here. Maybe show it's better back here. It's almost like a yellow color. And I'm just gonna tap that right under my brow. It's almost the same color as the concealer I used. So it really helps me to keep my highlight underneath my brow. And so you see we have our highlight, we have our color. And I'm just using this brush to kind of blend these colors in here. You're not adding anything else to it, you're just blending it out. So we're good here. We have our highlight, we have our blending colors going out, and these colors are called transition colors. These are not the shadow. These have nothing to do with what we're going to do on the shadow. This is just to give it a nice flowing look around the eye, and so that you don't have those harsh lines from the brow to the eyeshadow. So now for the cut crease, we're going to use the same brush that we used to apply, that same flat brush, the same brush that we used to apply our eyeshadow, the concealer to set first. We're going to use that brush to do our cut crease. I'll be using the Sephora Tinted and Cooling Eye Primer for this look. This is a matte primer base. It has a brush in it, and sometimes I will use this brush, but for this video I'm going to use the flat brush here. And so we're going to be carving out. Now I will tell you, if you planned on using lighter colors on the eyelid, I would tell you to cut your crease or figure out how you want your crease to be, how high you want it to be, and wipe that color out, the dark color. You can take a Q-tip with Vaseline and wipe that out, because you will see that although you're putting on a light base, the base will start to turn dark because of the transition colors that you used. The color of this one is matte beige. And you're just drawing like the half moon shape here. And you want to still be as even, you want to apply this as evenly as possible. So you'll notice, although I applied a light beige color, it's still kind of showing dark, and that's because that eyeshadow was in there. So if I was not using darker colors, then I definitely need to clean that up and make it lighter. Or you can add several layers on there to get it as light as you want it. But 9 times out of 10, the more product you put on to add the eyeshadow, it's going to start to crease. So the best thing you can do is clean it up. And I'm just using the very tip of the brush to get that line straight. And I normally with this product will use a double layer. So I'm going to go back over that now. I've cut it. It's kind of like you want to do like a base for it to figure out how you want your crease to be cut, and then you go back over it and fill it in again. So I'm just filling this in again just so that I can get a very even effect here. And you want to stay as close on that line as possible, because that should be your guideline. And this is going to be our half moon cut crease. And another trick you can do is apply the base here, blink, and your eyeshadow, it'll leave a line here, and that should be your guide as to where your cut crease should be, where you want to start your line up here, and then you'll work around on that line. Now I do have hooded lids, so when I open my eyes, my eyelids my eyeshadows pretty much disappear. So I tend to go a little bit higher than that line, that natural line of when I open my eyes, so that you can actually see my eyeshadows while my eyes are open. I'm going to give this a minute to dry because I do want this to be even. And if you do have this product, or if you can find this product and it's not what you like, you can always, I also have the Mitchell, where is it? The Mitchell Acid Rain. This is a little bit thicker and it's like a cream base. This one does the same thing. So you can cut with this as well. Some people like to use concealers. I personally don't use concealers because my eyes do crease and I find it hard to get my eyes from not creasing with the concealers. So I use something with a thicker consistency so that I can get it to stay. Okay, so now that this is a bit drier, and like I said, now if I was using lighter colors, I would want to clean that out, the darker color first, so that this could be extremely white or extremely beige, so that my lighter colors wouldn't, the darker colors underneath would not bleed through. So now I'm going to go back in with the dark brush that we use for our transition colors, and I'm going to start with our dark colors here. I'm going to start with the black. And I'm just doing, notice I'm just doing this corner here. And then I'm going to go back in with the blue right next to that color. So we have our black and we have our blue. Now I'm thinking, because this fairy needs to be dark, we should probably do the halo look. So what that would do is we're going to take the black and the inner corner of the lid as well. Really want to get in that corner. Looking for my brush cleaner. That it's easier if you have that brush cleaner. It's so much easier to use that than to wet the brush, because once you wet the brush and you're using matte colors, it's really not in your favor. So then we're going in with the blue right into that black, and we're bringing this up. Now here, you see how we're leaving that middle color there? I actually want to make that a little bit wider. So now I am going to use the Mitchell Acid Rain. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but let's see if I can get it close enough. See, that's a very thick cream there. So, and we're going to go back in with the same brush that we used to do with it. Pardon my eyes. What did I do with my brush? I lost it. Okay, well, oh, I found it. So we're going to go in with a little bit of that cream and we're going to redefine our line here. And we're going to pull this down. We kind of want to keep it into a triangular shape here. And I will tell you with this product, a little goes a long way. You don't need a lot. Okay. So now again, we're going to take our smaller brush. Actually, I'm going to switch courses on this brush. I want a smaller brush. So I am going to use this brush. This is it actually says smoke eye brush on here, but this brush is more of a detail brush and it'll help me keep my brush in those smaller areas because I don't want a big brush that's going to pick up too much color. And I'm going to go in with the lighter blue here. Just for this area. As you can see, I'm trying to keep it in that triangular area. That triangular shape, rather. And now I'm going to go in with the smaller brush that we've been using. And I'm going to put a lighter color in here. Hold on, I really need to. If you have more than one of these brushes, great. I don't have one right now, and I can't find my makeup cleaner, my brush cleaner. So I'm actually using a dry towel right now to get this black out of the brush. Again, these darker colors, you must use several brushes to do these darker colors, or have one of those makeup brush cleaners. Now I am going to go into the white. With this I am using the Morphe palette. And I'm using the white color just to kind of fill this in a bit. And I am going over that lighter blue that I added, only because it wasn't intentional to have that blue. It's just to add a shadow effect. But the actual look itself is for a dark fairy. So I'm going over that with the white just to kind of whiten that up a little bit, because it's just to give it a shadowy effect, not necessarily to show that blue. Okay, so now we are going to line this eye. Actually, what I want to do is, let's take our brush again, the flat concealer brush, and I'm going to go in with a darker concealer here. And you can this one, the concealer that you're going to use here should be, or you could use your foundation, the color of your skin tone. Some people will use tape. That's always another option. If you don't have a steady hand to create that steady line there, you can always use tape here. And that way when you're finished with the eyeshadow, you can just pull the tape off and your line should be straight. So we've cleaned that up. Okay, so now for my liner, I'm going to be using a liquid liner. This is from NYX. And this one is the matte liquid liner. So we're going to do our liner. And I like to start on the inside of my eye. And work my way out. And you can use that guide, that cleanup guide, you can use that as your wing guideline. Don't go past that line. If you do, don't worry, you can always go back with the concealer and clean it up. It's strictly up to you. Okay, so now I hope you've got it, because we're gonna go back through this with the other eye, but I'm kind of gonna go through it just as if I was doing my makeup off camera. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through this fairly quickly. My husband was gracious enough to find my makeup brush cleaner. I got this from Dollar Tree. So what you do is, as you're using a darker color, you just go in and scrub it across this, and it'll take all the color out of the brush, which is great for when you're using especially dark colors. So invest in that. It's only $1. It'll be one of the best investments you've ever had. It'll save you a lot of time and a lot of brush cleaning. So again, we're going to go in with this palette, with our Magic palette. I'm going to start off with the blue, using the purple first, and I'll show you. I know I mentioned creasing of the concealers. I'm not sure if you can see it, but my concealer has creased. When you see that line, you definitely want to go back over it and smooth that out, because your eyeshadow will crease. So you want to make sure there's no creasing and your foundation is flat. So while I'm doing this, I just want to make an announcement that there will be a contest. So at the end of this, if you're following along with me, email a photo of your fairy or your adult eye makeup look to Discovery Library at citynmb.com for a chance to win a free makeup session with yours truly. So you will get to meet me, and we will sit down and we will do a one-on-one session on whatever makeup look that you choose. So definitely send that email. I'd love to see your looks, to see how great you're doing. I actually do love makeup. I love how I feel after I've created something so different from my everyday look. So definitely send those videos in. I'm so excited to actually see what you guys have created out there. Some of these looks are a bit intense, but I definitely know that you guys can be very creative with it, and I'm interested in to see, and you might be teaching me something, so I'd love to see it. And I'll tell you again, that email address is discoverylibraries@citynmb.com. This is so much better. So now we're going to go in with our black. And we're going to smudge that in. Do not let makeup intimidate you. It's a lot easier than what you may think. Practice makes perfect. And I always say you're only as good as the last makeup trend. So there's things coming out all the time. Like, there's not just one look. There's always going to be a new makeup trend. So you're only as good of a makeup artist as the last trend. So don't get discouraged. You might be better at the next trend. Just keep practicing. It took me, I want to say, about 3 years before I actually really started feeling like, okay, I'm ready to start being a makeup artist and I got this. Like, it took me 3 years. It took a long time. And I painted before this, so I felt very confident in the fact that I'd be able to master makeup artistry. But it took a lot of practice. I had the concept, but just getting those things down packed, knowing where to blend what, those things took a little bit longer. And when I teach my classes, eyes are usually the longest and the trickiest part of the process. Like eyeshadows and stuff like that, knowing which eyeshadows to blend with what, that's usually the longest part of it. But again, like I said, don't get discouraged and give up. It is very simple once you get the hang of it. Let's go back in a little bit with this brown. I'm so excited. I get to see you guys work. I want to see who's actually taking this thing serious and actually coming out with a bomb look. So gonna go back in and I'll show you this trick, what I was telling you before. So you see that line up there? That's actually where my primer should be, where my line should be to start cutting my crease. And for this, I'm actually, just to give you an idea of what both products can do, I'm going to go back in to cut my crease this time with the Mitchell Acid Rain eyeshadow primer. And like I said, this is a creamier base. The other one is a liquid, so you may be feel like you have more control with the cream than the base. Than the liquid base. And most people think the cut crease is like one of the hardest eyeshadow looks to get, but I think it's fairly simple. But again, I say practice makes perfect. Okay. So I'm adding that and then I'm just gonna pat it out. And again, you still want this to be as even as possible. Because we are making this dark, you're pretty much only seeing this part that's popping out as far as the cut crease goes. If this was lighter, you'd see everything. So we're going to go back in with our smaller brush. Hold on, let me put the top back on this. I promise you I have so much makeup, it's like, oh my goodness. But so we're going to go in with our brush again and we're going to go in the corners with the black. Now I will tell you, when you're using black and other dark colors, you don't have to fight to get your primer so light because you want it to be dark. And so to get a true black, you'd actually want to use a darker primer, or you could even use a clear primer, because it's harder to get those colors to be dark when you're adding a light base to it, because instead of black you'll get gray. Of course, you know. Okay. And so I'm going to switch to that smaller brush that I used to go on the inside of the eye, because it's really hard to get into that corner there. Now for the Morphe palette, you can either get it from Morphe's website. I actually went to Sephora. I'm not sorry, so it's not Sephora. I went to Ulta. They do sell Morphe products. So I got this one from Morphe. I'm from Ulta. It's $40, so if you can't afford those, definitely check out your local beauty supply store or Ross or something like that that sells makeup as well. You might be able to find a similar palette. Or Juvia's Place also has multiple color palettes. The Magic palette is one of my favorites. Also the what's the other palette? The Masquerade palette is another colorful palette. So you could check them out as well. And like a lot of these makeup places now are having like major sales, so definitely check them out. You can get probably 30 to 50% off right now. We're just gonna bring that light blue in here. Now, because I used the Acid Rain on this eye already, I'm just going to go in with a very small portion of it now because I already have some on. It's not like the other one. I like both because they have different effects. And I'll tell you, the Emma Mitchell Acid Rain takes a bit longer to dry up, but let me tell you, when it sets in place, it really sets into place and it's harder to get it off. The other one dries in just a few minutes, not really minutes, but give it a minute and it'll start to dry up. That one dries up really matte, and that's a good thing. It dries up matte, it's not a cream. And once it dries up, you don't have to worry about the creasing. This one, on the other hand, if you add too much of it, you will get that creasing, and it takes a little bit longer to dry on this. So it's up to you, your preference and your comfort levels as to how much time you have. So like, I have to keep stretching my eye right now because this will crease on me without me putting any eyeshadow on it. So I have to work really fast with this. So depending on how fast you can work, I would kind of recommend the other one as far as to help you with the drying. And the other eye primer that I'm referring to is the one from Sephora. Again, I will show you that. This is the Sephora. See if I can get you close on this. The Sephora eye primer, and this is the color Matte Beige. You can look up on Sephora's website, or you can actually go into a Sephora store. Emma Mitchell, this is sold. I didn't see this in Ulta, but I know it's in the Morphe store. I know it's on Morphe website, and I also know that you can order it from P. Louise website. P. Louise is a Europe-based company, so I'm not sure. I've never ordered from there, so I'm not sure the shipping time on that. But if you're in a rush, like I said, you can always go to the mall, go to the Morphe store, or visit your local what's the store? Ulta or Sephora. trying to make this a little bit lighter. It's just like one eye. One eye comes out just like perfect, the other eye wants to give you a fit, right? Okay, so what I am going to do, because I don't hardly use these colors, if I can find it. Let's see. So that's silver. My whole eyeshadow look is pretty much matte right now. So I want to add a pop of shine in that middle. And these are called foil colors. This one's satin again. This is like a purple. Perfect. Okay, so this is a loose pigment that I'll be adding on to this. And this one is a sample. You can just Google loose pigments, because I haven't bought any loose pigments from any companies, because I had samples before. But you can Google loose pigments. This one is a blue color. It looks white, and but it's actually going to show up blue. Hopefully the camera will pick it up. So I'm going to use a bit of glitter glue. It's not an actual glue. It's just a sticky substance that actually helps these colors pop out more, and they grab lock quicker. So I'm gonna fill that white in with this color. That way the whole look is blue, but with a pop of a light to it. And the glitter glue just helps the colors to pop out a little bit better, and it holds the color better. I'm gonna go down on this eye because I haven't lined this eye yet, so. I'm just gonna fade that out a little bit. Just kind of give it. Okay. Now that step is optional. You can stop with the white. You don't have to look it up. You don't have to look for this. That's completely optional. You don't have to do that. But I do like the look of the blue. I'm actually going to have to darken my light so you guys can see it a little bit better. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and line the next eye. Oh, one thing I did forget was to clean this up. So we'll go back after this and clean this eye up. Now here I did do my foundation first, but when you're working with dark colors, I don't typically recommend you putting your foundation on before you work with these colors, because if your eyeshadow has any fallout, meaning that chalky stuff that falls from the eyeshadow that falls off the brush, it is really a pain to get that dark color out of your foundation. So I kind of do recommend waiting to do your foundation on that. Alright, so we lined our eyes. Let's go clean this up a little bit. I still have concealer on my hand, so I'm just going to go in right under my line here. And I'm going to swoop this down. I hope you guys are following me. I hope you're finding this really easy. I know it's a lot of steps, but it's definitely worth the outcome of it. So let's take our brush and blend that out. Now, I personally do not like that darkness in here, so I am going to lighten that up. What I'm going to do is take the same M. Mitchell concealer, just right over that eyeshadow, because I don't mind it keeping that blue tint there. I just want to lighten it up a bit. I don't like it as dark as it is there. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it out a little bit onto my waterline a bit for the color under my eyes. So pretty much the primer is going to be the key in keeping your eyeshadows in place. I think I showed this in the video before, how the difference in with an eyeshadow with a primer and an eyeshadow without a primer. Primer is very, very important to keeping your eyeshadows in place, especially if you have a long day ahead of you. So I'm going to go back in with that blue loose pigment I have. And I'm going to dab that right on top of there. Actually better to blend that, out. Now be careful with loose pigments, because there's a lot of fallout with those. They are loose, so it's not as compact as it would be with a eyeshadow from a palette. So what you can do to make it last longer, or to get it to not be so messy, you can use water, or you can use a eyeshadow of makeup setting spray, and wet the brush before you apply the loose powder, or you can dip it and wet it after. It's up to you. I recommend doing it before. Wet the brush first and then dip it in. That way you won't have so much of a fallout here. And it actually helps the color to last a little bit longer. So now I'm going to line my eyes. I'll be using the LA Girl cream liner under my eye, just in case my eye wants to water. With the liquid will run into the eye. It's better to use a cream under the eye, so that if your eyes water, you're less likely for the eyeshadow to go into the eye. So we're just gonna do that. And while I'm using a brush as well, using a flat angle brush, okay. And so with that, while you're using the brush, you kind of want to smudge out that black as well. So if you ever realize you use a liquid liner and it's smudging, and out throughout the day you start to have that raccoon look, it's because the liner has not been smudged out. And without it being smudged, it's going to start to smudge on its own. And the way it smudges is it begins to smudge down, and you start to get that raccoon look. So if you smudge it out already, it won't do that. That prevents the raccoon look. And because I want to be a little bit extra, I'm going to take that small brush again, and I'm going to go back into the blue from our Magic palette, and I'm going to smudge out just a little bit more that black with the blue. I said I might use green, I didn't. Oh well. So I'm just gonna, and also the eyeshadow, because it's matte, it helps to set that the eyeshadow, the cream base as well, because it's setting it with the powder, so you don't have to worry about it smudging. So now I'm going to do my mascara. I will be putting on lashes, but I always put on mascara first. If you're asking for a recommendation of a mascara, I am trying this one. This is the Lash Craft. This is Sephora Lash Craft Have It All. I honestly like the other one I have better. And that one, hold on, is the Length and Volume. And that one looks like this. So the Have It All has a like a bluish color on top. The other one is like a silver, and that is the Length and Volume. I do prefer that one over this new one, but I just got it, so I'm using it, but I think I prefer the other one better. I think the Length and Volume I get on the other one is a lot better. So I want to clean this little dropout a little bit up, a little bit more. So what I want to do is put a little bit of setting powder on top of that, just to kind of bring back my highlighted under my eyes. I'm just gonna brush that off. I don't want it to sit long. Okay, so now we're gonna get into our brows and we're gonna finish up this look. So for my brows, I actually use a brow pomade. You can use a pencil if you're more comfortable with that. I personally do like the brow pomades better. I don't have to worry about my eyebrows moving at all throughout the day. I'm going to use that same angled brush that I use for the under eye. Oh, I want it to focus a little bit. Okay, there we go. So you can see how thin that brush can be. And so for my everyday look, I normally will start with my brows. But because I wanted to get this going, I did not. So we're going to follow the natural shape of our brows. And it's up to you how light or dark you do your brows, or how thick or thin you do them. This part is strictly up to you. I'm just following my natural brow shape. And again, because we've already done our concealer here, you kind of want to keep this as straight as possible. If not, you can always go back in with the concealer and clean it up a little bit. And I'm just going to follow that same thing on the other brow. go back over here and clean up this brow. Now I did put my concealer on, but I have not absolutely highlighted my face. So we're going to go through that as well. Just really quickly because it's necessary. We must simply have our glow, correct? So with the brows, I'm actually going to go in with my spoolie. This is called a spoolie, not the little eyebrow brushy thingy. Trying to get it to focus for you. Okay, there we go. So this is a spoolie, and what you want to do is go in the front of the brow and brush that back. Now mind you, we simply must get rid of this line here. So what we're going to do, my brush already has had foundation on it, so it probably still does. If not, you'd add foundation here, but my brush pretty much still has the foundation, so I'm just brushing that out. And you want to make sure you erase that line as well as you can. You don't want that harsh line there. And now I'm going to go back in. I'm actually going to be using a larger rounded brush, still kind of flat, to clean up the top of my brow. I'm going to be using an a concealer that's very close to my skin tone because I don't need a highlight at this very moment for that part. Actually, because I have not done it, I'm going to go ahead and use this lighter one. That way I won't have to go back with it. Now, when you're doing a highlight for your, if you're doing a contour and highlight, you don't want to go more than, I want to say, 3 shades lighter than your skin tone. So I'll keep it somewhere in the realm of 2 to 3. Anything else, when you take pictures in the dark and you get your flash, you're going to have that ghostly flashback. So you want to stick to a color that's kind of close to, you don't want to go too high, otherwise you're going to have that ghostly flashback and it's hard to get rid of. So I'm just cleaning up the top of my brow a little bit and I'm blending that out. And for me, I do like to go in with my concealer at the front of my brows to further blend them out. I'm not putting any extra product on there. I'm just taking the brush with the concealer already on it and just fading that backwards. So I like to do that to get that clean, fresh look here. Okay, and so now I'm going to go in I'm going to actually highlight right now. I've already highlighted in this area, so I'm only going to be doing my forehead and my chin and over my lip area. I've already highlighted under my eyes. And I'm going to be using a beauty blender. The beauty blender should typically be wet when you're doing this. It helps to get a better blend. So you just want to use your beauty blender and just pat this out. You don't want the beauty blender to be soaking wet, you just want it to be damp. And this, I am going to do some contouring. I know the main thing is to get the face done, but I am going to be doing some contouring to snatch this, bring it all together. For that, I will be using my Juvia's Place Warrior 2 palette. This has more neutral tones to it. And I'm just going to run through this really quickly. I'm going to be using the darker color around the perimeter of my face, and then I'll be going in with this color to kind of blend that out. And you're going to see me do that around here, all into my cheekbones here. And I'm also going to go up my nose with it. So I'm going to go into the darker color first, and I'm going to go here, as you can see that line there. And you just kind of want to use your brush and blend that out. You don't want to leave that line too pronounced. You just want to give it that effect of a shadow. And I'm using a very little bit because these colors are very pigmented, and you don't want it to be super dark. So then I'm going to go in with that over that with the brown to bring back into that natural tone. So it almost looks like a blush look instead of that harsh dark color I used. And I'm not going like right over it. I'm going where you could see like the line, like that hard line there. I'm going like right into that part right there. So that I can blend this out. And keep in mind, this is also the area where my blush will go. So it'll all blend itself together. And I'm actually going to be using a peachy type blush here. So it all blends in together here. Easy enough. And I'm also going to be going in with my, let's do our nose. Almost forgot, let's do the nose. Now for the nose, I do tend to use a smaller brush, more like the eyeshadow brush that we used. Which brush should I use here? Oops. Like the black brush that I use, I like to use that brush around my nose. And I actually, instead of the darkest color here, I'm going to go in with the lighter color so that I don't have that line of demarcation on my nose. So I start here at the top of the brow. I'm sorry, at the bottom of the brow here. And we're going to come down our nose. And do that same thing on this side. You're coming from the bottom of the brow here, and we're going to bring that down. And this kind of helps to slenderize the nose. Just teaching you little tricks to help get that flawless look that I know so many teenagers are looking for. More if you want. And so yeah, we're going to use that. And so notice when you turn to the side, you see that line there. That's what you want to get rid of. So what we're going to do is take our beauty blender and we're going to kind of just blend that out a little bit with the beauty blender. But now I did not set the creams that I used to highlight. I didn't set those, so what I want to do now is go over those with my setting powder. I'm using Morphe setting powder, and this one is in the color Banana Rich. Now the color that you would use would depend on your skin tone. I'm not going to bake. When I mean baking, that is to the process and leaving the prime with the powder on for a limited time to let it really set in. I'm not going to do that process, so I'm going to just quickly blend that off, and that's just to get the excess off. But it does help to set the highlighter into place and to give you a nice matte finish here. Cool. So now we're going to spray our setting spray to set our look. I'm using the Morphe mattifying continuous spray. I know, I just went on a shopping spree. I have a lot of Morphe products right now. There we go. So this is what this looks like. It comes in a can. And I'm going to do that really quickly because while my face is still kind of wet, I want to go in with my, ooh, it's a lot. Go in with my luminous highlighter here. And for this look, I'm using the Aurora Glow Kit from Anastasia. And this is just for this look. I honestly prefer a more natural golden glow, but because this look, we're doing a fairy look, I'm going to go in with the luminous glow kit colors. And I'm not going to do too much on my head, on my forehead, because my headpiece, you won't be able to, you'll see it anyway. You won't see it, so I'm just gonna go here on my nose. And then we're gonna go in with the lashes now. I'll be using the 3D Silk lashes by Cherry Blossom. There we go. And I got these from the beauty supply store as well. You can check out your local beauty supply store to pick those up. I also used the glue by I Envy, the Super Stronghold. This is also in the beauty supply store. And this is a clear one. It also comes in black. Now I already had these lashes outside waiting outside of the pack with glue on them, just to kind of speed this up a little bit. But realistically, you want to give these lashes probably about 2 minutes before you try to put them on with the glue, so that the glue gets sticky and that you can just go ahead and stick them in place. So, and I use my fingers, but you can feel free to use tweezers if it's better for you. But I use my hands because I've actually gotten a lot more comfortable with using these. These are a little bit larger than what I normally use, but because we're doing such a theatrical look, I figured it would help with this. So I'm going to also be using a blue lipstick. Sorry, this one's a little older. This is an old brand from a company that's no longer in business, so you can just use whatever color you have, or you could look for a blue lipstick from any other vendor. I don't typically wear these colors, so it's not something I would have on hand normally. And so my flowers are a little bit big, so don't laugh, but this is my little headpiece. I made this one. See if you can see my little feathers here. So I made this. I went to Joann's Fabric and got the flowers. I would suggest using smaller flowers. I got the actual band from the beauty supply store, but I think that this does offer a headpiece look for our fairy. And this is our final look for our dark fairy look. You can go as dramatic. If you like to add glitter, feel free to. But for the most part, this is going to be our dark fairy look. Loving this dark piece. I can just move my my leaf here. Maybe I'll move that to the middle here. But anyways, just to remind you guys, don't forget to follow us on our YouTube channel, NMB Discovery Library. You can find this look and many more on our page. Definitely, and don't forget, definitely, I would love to see your looks, to see how your dark fairy look came out. Remember, it's to win a contest and get a one-on-one makeup session with me. We'll go into full detail of eyebrows, eyeshadows, anything that you want to learn. I'm there to teach you. So definitely don't forget to send in your pictures and let me see, and then we'll finally get to meet. And I just love my makeups. I can't wait to see your look. Thank you for joining me. As always, have a great evening, and I will see you later. Bye bye.